Are Trump supporters misinformed or just authoritarian types? Check out this conversation. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and please subscribe to our channel. The question: are the Trump supporters merely badly informed, poorly informed people, who watch too much Fox or listen to too much right-wing radio, or are they actually sadistic? There's a piece over at Raw's Story published by John Storr. It's the headline, Conservative Evangelicals. Now, it's that particular slice of the Trump voters. We'll get to other slices in just a moment. Aren't hypocrites, he says. It's worse than that. He says the reason they support a fascist president is simple. They're sadists. And he says, I'm not talking about like sadism in the sexual context. I'm talking about sadism in the context of people who get pleasure out of inflicting pain on other people who they think deserve the pain. Now, the they think deserve the pain is pretty important. And he says these are sadists. He says, for example, punishment for being gay is divine justice in the minds of these conservative evangelicals. From such so-called justice comes pleasure, which is sadism. Richard Rorty wrote a book about this. It's called Achieving Our Country. And he pointed out that Southern apartheid, racism, misogyny, and back in the day, slavery were all socially acceptable forms of sadism. As Adam Serwer wrote for The Atlantic when he was writing about Trump putting children in cages and Republicans supporting Donald Trump in doing this, he said, cruelty is the point. That that these guys, it's the goal of this article and of Rorty's book was to make socially acceptable sadism less socially acceptable. So he's arguing that hey, they're sadists. How can people kind of overlook the fact that Donald Trump created a fake charity, which he got busted for in New York State? He used that fake charity to bribe Pam Bondi, who was then the Attorney General for the state of Florida, to stop her lawsuit against his fake university. After he gave her a whole pile of money from his fake charity, she dropped the charges. And meanwhile, we've got this, this impeachment thing going. Star Wars actor Daisy Ridley recently said that people who continue to blindly support Trump are not fully sane. She said, everyone has an issue with Trump, every sane person anyway. Daisy Ridley, big star of Star Wars. She's British, I believe. Painting with such a broad brush is kind of tough. There's an interesting op-ed about this by Frank Vian Walton over at Daily Kos. But he points out that he says, I have to admit that all the Republicans believe are lies and BS, that they're rife with the disease of delusion, and that the Republicans have lost their damn minds. Donald Trump, for example, derisively speaks about people who disagree with him. He's a serial liar. He's a bore. He's an admitted sexual assaulter. He says very fine people agree with Nazis or are Nazis. He has separated over 5,000 children from their parents. 7 of them have died. Our internment camps are now leading to deaths. How long before we start, building cremation chambers in them? Trump was in communication with WikiLeaks and Guccifer through Roger Stone during the election, coordinating the release of these hacked emails. He falsely claims that Ukraine has possession of the DNC server. He and Giuliani are doing this sham investigation of Joe Biden. This is all serious stuff. So, I told this story a while ago. In our neighborhood, or down the road from us, a friend had a dinner party, and somebody mentioned that somebody committed suicide with a gun and said guns should be regulated. And another person freaked out and stormed out and said, the liberals want to take away your guns. I mean, as a Trump supporter, it's like they got triggered. These people are like snowflakes, but is that because they're badly misinformed? I mean, this person is, I know him, I think he's a decent person, but whoa, right? Or Are some or all or a majority of the Trump supporters, merely people who are like in the ride for the sadism? Are they going along with this because they think, yeah, sure, hey, let's make those people hurt? Is that the point? I mean, they're certainly making people hurt. We're seeing an explosion of anti-Semitism. We're seeing more murders of Jewish people than I recall in my lifetime. We're seeing, brown people being put in cages in the southern border. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.